Okay, y'all, I am over the moon excited. We have a very special guest. I have kind of been stalking her for years, and she doesn't know this, just her career and how she just is a true mentor from a distance of mine. So I am so excited to have the Robin Plotkin on our show today. So welcome, Robin.
Thank you. That's so kind. You're so sweet.
Oh,
Thank you.
well, I just want to jump right in. So tell us, spill the tea. Tell us all about you, of you, who you are, what you do, and how you got there.
Right. Okay. Well, I am Robin Plotkin. I am a registered dietitian and have been for over 20 years. I first started my career really actually in PR and went back to school to become a dietitian pretty quickly after I realized that I didn't want to do what I was doing. So I actually have two undergraduate degrees. One is in political science, of all things, and the other is in nutrition and institutional administration. A
Wow.
little
I
known
would have never,
fact.
yeah, I love that fact.
Mhm.
So are you
Which,
still a political junkie? Like, do you still like keep up?
I'm not. I certainly have my opinions, as we all do, but I'm not active
Yeah.
in the sense that you might think somebody who has a poli sci degree would
Yeah.
be. I am active in my own way, though.
Yes.
However, yes, but the PR aspect of my career has really helped take me in a lot of different places in my dietetics career. So after I finished school, I immediately started working in a hospital. At the time, it was Zale Lipsche University Hospital in Dallas on the UT Southwestern Medical School campus. And it was an incredible experience. And I did everything kind of soup to nuts in the nutrition department, which I value incredibly so much. And one of my mentors, longtime mentors now, Mary Kimbrough, who you may or may not
Mhm.
know, based here in Dallas also, really put me to work. And it was the best thing she could have done because I learned a lot, a lot, a lot. I applied for internship. Let me step back. I applied for internship when I was going to school and I was working at Zale Lipsche part-time. I did not get an internship match,
Oh.
which at the time was devastating. However, I worked for the entire next year, built up my skills, built up my networking, and wound up getting one in the place that I had wanted to the following year. So just a note for anybody who's had that setback, had that, quote failure, which it's absolutely not. It was really the best thing for me because I became a better intern, a better professional because I had experienced that.
Mm.
So, I'm just out here to say that if you don't match, just keep trying. Just
Ah,
keep on trying.
yep.
If you have any RDs to Bs or new listeners out there, just kind of checking in. But after Zale Lipsche, I wound up working for the North Texas Food Bank for a number of years, which was, again, a fantastic time in my life. Really solidified my love and passion for giving back and feeding others. And I've been lucky enough to take that through my career as well. And then after that, I left and went to Central Market, HEB Central Market, which I
Oh,
know you know
yeah.
very well. Uh, Retail grocery store started here in Texas many, many years ago. Central Market was the kind of upscale, higher end
Hmm.
store that came to the Dallas Fort Worth area over 20 something years ago now. And I was the eighth person hired on the Dallas Fort Worth market team.
What? The eighth? No way.
8%, yes, in this area. So that was incredibly fun. I learned so much about retail grocery. It was the most physically demanding job I've ever had in my life. I loved every second of it until I didn't because I was, quite frankly, getting older and was like, hey, I need to really focus on my personal goals, which
Mhm.
were to have a family, find somebody
Mhm.
to settle down with and have a family. And I knew that in that current state I was in, working 80 hours a week and nights and weekends and holidays, I wasn't going to be able to do that.
Mm.
So I did go out on my own at that time and I was ready to be an entrepreneur. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My father, my grandfather, both of my brothers at different times in their life, and my sister have all been self-employed entrepreneurs. So I just have that in me. And I just decided, hey, now's the time to do it. Either
Mm-hmm.
kind of jump ship or stay on board. And I knew it would be very hard to leave. So I left and started my business. And that was, gosh, 18, 19 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, so many questions. So, when you like left and like jumped ship, like one, how terrifying was it? And then like two, like we talk about like having a private practice. Like, is that what you jumped into, or like share a little bit about that?
Sure. I was petrified. I was also, kind of if you're a risk taker, you realize, I mean, you're a risk taker, right? You do what you do. You realize that it comes with risk.
Yeah.
And so I had a backup plan. I was going to give myself 2 years. And if push came to shove, I would go back into the nutrition world, more of a typical
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
world, if you will. But I always say, the first year I just walked my dog a lot. I had the most walked dog in the neighborhood because I didn't have any work, I didn't
Yeah.
have a whole lot to do. But slowly but surely, the clients came on board and I figured out what I was trying to do or supposed to do. And back then, somebody with my background was very rare.
Mm-hmm.
I had all this food service, I had all this marketing and PR work. I had some retail grocery experience at that time. I had nonprofit experience at that time. And I had clinical experience at that time. So yes, I started a private practice, but not in the typical way that I would see patients.
Mm-hmm.
That was never on the table for me. I give my best and highest regards to clinicians like you and your team and those who are listening to do that kind of work. We had talked earlier about knowing our strengths and weaknesses, and that was a weakness of mine. So that was never going to be my focus. It was always in communications and marketing and PR and food service, health, wellness, those types of things in the general scope, but never one-on-one patient care.
Wow, which I think is like such an interesting avenue, one, because I know nothing about it. And I'm just like, how do you even begin in that? Because I know a lot of our listeners, they might be burnt out of seeing patients, or they're like, oh, that is also not one of my strengths. I want to do more with this nutrition degree. So, how do you even begin that path?
It's really all about who you know. Uh, it's really about making those strides and making that effort, really everywhere you turn to make connections.
Mm.
So, for example, I came from retail grocery, so I had a lot of connections in the retail grocery world with a lot of different vendors.
Mm.
And my initial thought was, I want to work with vendors who need help with, sorry, excuse me. So I had a lot of connections with vendors. And my thought was, I want to work with vendors and help them with either marketing or communication pieces that they needed help with, maybe some of their nutrition labeling, those types of things, and help them get on the shelves. And any small vendor or any food vendor that's just starting out has no money for somebody like me.
Yeah.
So I had to switch gears and kind of look to a broader sense. So bigger companies and bigger organizations who needed my expertise and my experience. And really, it's just through those connections. And 20 years ago, the internet certainly and social media wasn't what it is today. So and I have to say that the internet and social media doesn't always work the way we hope it does. So
No.
having those soft skills of networking is truly, truly important. And it's really about framing conversations with people of not, here's what I do, here's what I can do, and just kind of regurgitating your normal 30-second elevator speech. You hear that all the time, that's what you have to do, but it's really about finding out what that person needs and how you can fit that specifically with your skill set. So a lot of time it's about listening and hearing what they're saying and then maybe saying, hey, perhaps this might be an area of expertise that I have that I can help you with.
Oh,
So it's
how,
reversing. Mhm.
yeah. I'm just like thinking about like approach to me. I'm like, it sounds absolutely terrifying to approach these like major companies and be like, by the way, have you thought about this? Like, give me an eating disorder patient day or night, and I will talk to them all day long. But I'm like, approaching a major corporation, like I would be like mortified and terrified.
It comes with practice, definitely. And, if you can come in as a junior person with somebody to present or to pitch or, just to work on the project, that's going to help obviously give you some of the confidence that you need. But really, if you think about your current skill set and how it's transferable into different industry, that is also helpful in terms of building that confidence piece, because we all have some of those same things. It's just
Mhm.
how we parlay it, right?
Oh, totally,
Yeah.
totally. So, okay, we're done walking the dog. We've
Yes.
got some clients. We're doing the thing. Like, what is it like over the last 15, 20 years of having this business? Like, how has it evolved and grown?
It's really been interesting. I have been very fortunate to work with, major corporations that you and I both know very well, as a speaker, as a spokesperson, providing insight and influence. I've also been able to work with small boutique PR agencies, providing guidance and counsel for their food clients or their retail packaged good clients, restaurants, and so on and so forth, which has been exciting and fun. But really, I have tried to weave that nonprofit piece throughout throughout my career, as I had mentioned earlier. And I've been able to do that with some of my larger companies. So I've been part of, I would say under the umbrella of my business, I have straight communications that I offer. So writing, speaking, traditional media, social media, PR strategy, etc. And then really it's small and large scale event management. And that could be conducting a cooking class or creating a cooking class for a group of 5 people, or it could be doing a health and wellness seminar or conference for 5,000 people, and everywhere in between. So I was able to find a nice little niche with a healthcare company, and I worked in their community relations department, and I was able to create and execute some really amazing partnerships with nonprofits that also benefited the healthcare system, if you will. So I
Ah.
did that for 12 years. They were one of my most fun and favorite clients. And as things go, the whole leadership turned over. So I found myself with some free time, and I wanted to fill it with the same sort of work. And I was able to find another healthcare company that serves seniors.
Oh.
Seniors, yeah. So I have, for the last 6 years, one of my top clients, super fun clients, one I love very much, is the Visiting Nurse Association and Meals on Wheels. And in that
Mm.
capacity, I work in their development and communications office. So I plan and execute all their special events that are all food and wine related. Yes. And I do a lot of their writing and all kinds of different things that keep me busy. So I've been very fortunate to do that. I
Wow.
would, yeah.
Just listening to all of this, like to me, I'm like, you must have like a team of 40 million people. Like, is there like, how do you do it all? I'm just thinking, and sleep and have a family. Like, how do you manage?
So, there's only so many hours in a day, right? So
Mhm.
I do have a limit as to how much I can take.
Yes.
And I've recognized that limit more so over the last 10 years, because again, it's about that balance, and it's about wanting to be with my family. And I built my business in a way that I could be with my family and I could be
Mhm.
with my son. So I did that very purposefully,
Mm.
and it has worked. It has worked. You have to be very true and consistent, though, to the boundaries that you set for
Mm.
yourself and for others to make that happen. That's not to say that there's some hours or some weeks I'll work 80, hours, but then there's some weeks that I work 20 hours or,
Yeah.
whatever. It just depends. Um, but one thing I will tell you, since 2019, I was starting to get an itch for doing something new.
Ooh.
And that is where Board Mama came to fruition, which is my charcuterie board, grazing tail, and barcouterie board business that is based here in Dallas. And I obviously create and produce charcuterie boards. I actually do the food, not the actual board. So there's a lot of sometimes, oh, you make the actual board. And in my mind, yes, I make the actual board, but they're talking about the actual wooden board. I do not do.
Oh, so how did you get to board besides like, oh, I need some creative outlets or I need a new change? Like, how did you like I love it, Board Mamas.
Thank you. Well, I got burned out like a lot of people do. And like a lot of your listeners are doing. I got burned out. But I wanted to do something creative, or what I would consider creative. And to me, this is art. Food to me is art. I have a deep respect and passion for food and how it's grown and where it comes from and so on and so forth. And so this was my way of turning that into a business, right? And a revenue stream, if you will.
Yeah.
So I didn't exactly know what I was doing, but through all the years of experience that I've had with, food service and marketing, and, I knew enough about all of the pieces to be able to put it together. And it did well. It's doing well, I should say. And even in the pandemic, when I thought, oh boy, here we go, I'm not going to have any business, really turned it around because I started offering virtual cooking classes or how to build a better charcuterie board class. So that comes from my event management, training. And that comes from my, the fact that I've taught culinary classes for 20 plus years. That was a natural fit as well.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they're just beautiful. If you guys haven't checked them out, like we will put some links in our show notes, but just absolute works of art.
Thank you.
So with all of your amazing and just fun experiences, what's been the most fun? Like you're just like, man, if I could do this every day, it wouldn't be work.
I really love teaching the virtual charcuterie classes.
Really?
I think that would be incredibly fun. And I also think that if I had some element of that giving back and feeding people, which I do, I do that. And that to me is just very fulfilling, which as we get older, we know that it's really about being fulfilled and not so much just burning the candle at both ends or making as much money as we possibly can. It's about doing things that matter. And that's just never been truer, I think, especially since the pandemic, to figure it out and make it happen and not be afraid. I think the number one thing that holds everybody back is fear.
What helps you to get past that of like that, all of that?
You have to realize, and I know a lot of dietitians come from this way of thinking, is the perfectionism. There's no room for perfectionism when you are starting something new.
Yeah.
So if you wait and hold on until it's going to be just right, or it's going to be perfect, or you've got everything lined up, you're never going to do it. Right?
So true. So true.
Right. So nobody has to know that it's not perfect or that you didn't intend for something to be a certain way. It's just for you to go back and fix.
Yeah.
Or if you can live with it that way and it's not hurting anybody or anything, then that's how it is.
It sounds so peaceful in that realm of like that perfectionist just feels very anxiety provoking, but like just let it go.
And I was totally a former perfectionist. So I get it from both sides of the street, but I think about how many hours I spent worrying, or how many nights I lost sleep, or just the spiral in my head where it went. What were people thinking of me? How is this going to affect my career? I'm never going to get another job again. I think we all experience that at some point. It's not true. We're feeding ourselves lies.
Yeah.
But I really think that fear is the number one reason we don't do things that we intend to do or want to do. And I spent a couple of years, really good, solid years, coaching dietitians as well. And I did love that. I loved it. I didn't market it heavily. It was more of word of mouth. But the clients that I had, I mean, 2 of them have just recently published books. I've just seen them go from and they both had like careers that they wanted to get out of. So I helped them break out of their career mold and set some goals for new careers.
Oh, and when working with those coaching clients, like getting past that perfectionist fear and getting past their own fear, like what did you notice besides getting that perfectionist trait under wraps? Like what other things really help people? Because I think that is one of the biggest things of our listeners is fear. And so any tips or insights that have helped you or your coaching clients, we're all ears.
What my coaching clients tell me is the fact that I held them accountable. So we had very specific goals and tactics and so on and so forth to meet. And there's nothing worse than coming to a call, especially when you're paying for it and saying, oh, I didn't get it done or I didn't do it. So having that added motivation, knowing that I was coming and I'm going to say, did you get it done?
Yeah.
And it didn't have to be perfect, but it had to be progress.
Yeah.
And then just having somebody be a constant cheerleader for them, because that's what I did. You know, I'm like, you have, people don't realize how incredible they are or how much they have to contribute or what they have already contributed to the industry or their profession or their society or their community or their family. And sometimes they just need a reminder. And I can very easily take a look at, you know, their resume or their bio or what, you know, what they've got on social media and really pull out some things that are just incredible about them.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I think we all forget that we do need that cheerleader, especially in our professional lives, because we just get so stuck in that comparison mode of I'm not good enough and oh, I need to be doing more and more and more. And so, oh, what a great gift. And I think that is such a, hopefully everybody's listening and making a note of like, oh, if I'm feeling stuck or fearful of taking that next big step, do I have a cheerleader in my corner?
Right. Because it's not your boss, usually. Yeah. It's probably not your spouse. It's probably not your friends. You know, it's somebody on the outside who understands who you are as a professional and what you do and how much schooling you went to and how hard it was and all the work that you did, you know, just to get the pat on the back, because very few people understand what we do, right?
So true. So true. And especially if you're wanting to change or do something different, it's even more, you get those funny looks from family members. You want to do what? You want to make a charcuterie board class? Okay.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And what's interesting is, you know, this past year, some people were talking to me about what are you kicking out this year? What's going to happen this year? Because I'm always doing something kind of different or new. And I said, you know what? I didn't have it in me. So I'm nothing. I'm getting status quo.
Oh,
and that's okay too.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm happy with that, you know?
Sometimes we forget that just like steady is amazing.
Definitely, especially the last few years with so many interruptions, I'll say.
Yes.
You know, interruptions.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Life
I like
happens, right? Life just happens and you have to take care of it.
I
You'll
know
be forced to, and that's not a good place to be in either.
No, not one bit. But yeah, I think that's a great reminder for us all that we don't always have to be achieving the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Like steady is wonderful. Oh, I love that. So as far as like words of wisdom for anybody starting out or new or wanting to change, anything that we can kind of like, I guess, kind of take home as homework or like a to-do from you?
You know, I would write down 3 things that you want to get done in the next week. Just 3, you know, instead of writing down a 20 item to-do list. Like, here's how to start my new business. Just do 3 things. It might be looking into getting an LLC or becoming an S corp or, you know, talking to an attorney or something like that. Just make an appointment. Make the appointment. Okay. When we have a plan, we feel better about forging ahead. So make a small plan. So write down 3 things that you want to accomplish and get them and start there, really, because building a business does not happen overnight. There are likely going to be some extremely lean years. When I started out, and again, this was 20 plus years ago, and I tell people this all the time, I made $19,000.
That's amazing. I'm
That,
excited for you.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Like I made $19,000. Now, luckily I had saved and I had money to use and so on and so forth. Not everybody's in that position.
Yeah.
So be sure that you can handle it from a financial standpoint, because when you are anxiety ridden about the financial piece, you will not be able to get anything else done.
Yep. Oh yeah. And I'm impressed because most people don't make a profit their first year in business. So to like, like, oh wow,
Right.
that's amazing.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So, over the years, I've had good years and not so good years, but the trajectory obviously is to make more every year if you can, but sometimes it's out of your control.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Sometimes it is out of your control. So if you have family health issues or people that you're taking care of, or a new baby or elderly parents or something a tragedy that you're dealing with, you have to let your work go and know that people understand that life happens, because they are also people and have life that happens.
Yeah. I think that's a thing you don't see on social media a lot, is that life happens and it's okay to like pause, like this whole growth and being more, and just do life.
Right. And it's also how you measure success and what
Mhm.
you're, how you measure growth.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
sometimes it's not quite so straightforward.
I love that. I love that. How do we measure success? And I'm thinking of sometimes it's like, oh, I got up and put pants on today, success. And so like sometimes those small things are just as important as landing a ginormous client or your best year.
Right. Absolutely. Because sometimes that's all you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that anybody moving forward, obviously, if they need help, to find those people out there in their communities or their kind of orbit that will support them and help them.
Mhm.
I would say certainly, and you and I were talking about this earlier, if you know your strengths and weaknesses. So for example, I immediately got a bookkeeper and an accountant because that is not my strong point. I could sit there and pretend like I know what I'm doing and struggle and then do it wrong and then become more and more frustrated and so on and so forth. Or I could take that money that I'm losing anyway, right? Because I'm not billing,
Mm-hmm.
and put it towards something that I know will have a beginning and a middle and an ending.
Yep.
Taxes, for example.
Yes. And it'll also save you like throwing your computer down because and having to buy a new computer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that is what
so
I would
true.
also take stock in.
I love that. Oh, that's such great words of wisdom of like, just start small, try to do three things, know your strengths and weaknesses, and find your community. I think those are just valuable life lessons, business lessons. Mm.
Yes. And as I'm sure you're seeing, life and work intersect all the time now. So, and that's just the way workforce is nowadays as well.
Yeah.
And in some instances,
Yeah.
obviously not everybody has that ability, to see that. But when you are working alone or you're a solo practitioner, those things are very important because oftentimes you are alone.
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing that your family maybe is in the other room and you can go say hi to them or have lunch with them is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
a good thing to step away.
So true. So true. As I have like a little human learning to walk behind my computer multiple times a day. Yeah.
Of course you do. And that's so
Um,
much more acceptable today than even 5 years ago.
oh, so true. Oh, it is. And it makes the long hours sometimes a little bit more fun. Oh, Robin, this has been such a treat. How can we continue to learn about you and everything that you're up to?
Well, of course, I am on social media. I am at Robin's Bite, ROBINSBITE, and at Board Mama, BOARDMAMA. And I have a little gift for your listeners, if that's
Oh,
okay
I
with
would. Oh,
you.
that's amazing. I'm so
Okay,
honored.
great. So for anybody who books through Adrien's podcast, books either a coaching session or a virtual charcuterie board class, I'm going to give 15% off.
Ooh, I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
we will put a link in our show notes so that we can definitely get that. Ooh, I'm excited. Ooh, thank you. That is
You're very
so
welcome.
kind. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm like, oh, can we do that for
Yes,
us?
you can. I mean, you can do it for, I do a ton of staff team buildings. I do garden clubs in the neighborhood. I do Fortune 300 companies. I do it all. And everyone has a great time because they're learning something new and they're enjoying it through food
Ah, so much
and
fun.
sometimes wine. I love wine.
I mean, it does make everything so much more fun. Oh, Robin, thank you so much. This is such a treat, and I just can't wait to keep seeing what you create.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you. It was my pleasure. So good to see you and talk to you and learn more about what you're doing too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.